In the heart of Russia, during the twilight of the Romanov dynasty, there emerged a figure so enigmatic, his very name would become synonymous with mystery and manipulation. Today, we delve into the story of Grigori Rasputin.
Rasputin. I've heard that name whispered in history classes and seen it flash across the pages of novels. But who was he really?
Olivia, that's the question that has puzzled historians for over a century. Rasputin was a peasant, a self-proclaimed holy man who rose to become one of the most influential figures in the royal court.
From peasant to palace confidant. That's quite the leap. How did he manage that?
With a charisma that could sway the skeptics and a gaze that seemed to peer into your very soul. Rasputin became close to Tsar Nicholas II and his family by claiming to possess the power to heal their son, Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia.
Healing powers? Now that's a handy skill to have up your sleeve.
Indeed, but not everyone was convinced. Some saw him as a savior, others as a charlatan. His influence grew so strong that it sparked jealousy and fear among the nobility.
So, what happened to him?
That, my curious friend, is a tale of intrigue and dark deeds. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, let's explore how Rasputin's journey began in the humble village of Pokrovskoye. Picture a young Rasputin with eyes as deep as the Siberian winter and a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. Born into a peasant family in 1869, his early life was marked by hardship and mysticism.
Mysticism? In what way?
Well, it's said that even as a child, Rasputin exhibited signs of clairvoyance. He'd predict events with uncanny accuracy, which both fascinated and frightened his fellow villagers.
I can imagine that didn't make him the most popular kid in Pokrovskoye.
Quite the opposite, Olivia. It made him a pariah, but it was this very isolation that drove him to embrace religion and eventually to embark on a pilgrimage that would change his fate forever.
A pilgrimage? That sounds like the beginning of an epic journey.
Indeed. Rasputin traveled to the Tsar Nicholas Monastery at Verkhochery, where he spent months in prayer and fasting. When he returned, he was no longer just Grigori. He was Grigori Rasputin, the man who would captivate a nation.
And that's when he went to Petersburg?
Exactly. With nothing but his faith and a few followers, he arrived in Petersburg in 1903. The city was a hub of political intrigue, and it wasn't long before Rasputin found himself in the midst of it all.
How did he manage to climb the social ladder so quickly?
By being a man of the people and yet not quite like any other. His rustic charm and supposed healing abilities caught the attention of some very powerful individuals.
Sounds like he was a master at playing the game.
You could say that, but it's also where our story takes a darker turn. Rasputin's rise to power brought him many enemies, and his influence over the royal family stirred unrest among the aristocracy.
Unrest that would lead to
a series of events that would shake the very foundation of the Russian Empire. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, let's focus on Rasputin's enigmatic presence in the royal court. As Rasputin's influence grew, so did the whispers in the corridors of power. The holy man from Siberia was now a fixture in the royal palace, his presence both a comfort and a curse.
A comfort and a curse? That's quite the contradiction.
Indeed, Olivia. To Tsarina Alexandra, Rasputin was a beacon of hope, a man with the divine power to save her ailing son. But to the rest of Russia, he was a symbol of the monarchy's decay, a man who wielded undue power without title or birthright.
I suppose not everyone would be thrilled about a mystic calling the shots.
You're right. The nobles were outraged. They saw Rasputin as a threat to their influence and the stability of Russia. Rumors swirled that he was the Tsarina's lover, that he was the true ruler of Russia.
Scandalous. But were those rumors true?
The truth is often lost in the shadow of gossip. What we do know is that Rasputin's presence created a rift in the royal family, one that would widen with the outbreak of World War I.
World War I? How did that affect Rasputin?
The war was a disaster for Russia. As the Tsar took command of the army, leaving the Tsarina in charge, Rasputin's power became more apparent and his advice more influential. His meddling in political affairs led to disastrous appointments and dismissals.
So, he was playing kingmaker.
In a manner of speaking, yes, but his actions didn't go unnoticed. The people were suffering, the war was dragging on, and Rasputin was seen as part of the problem.
And that's when they decided to take action?
Exactly. A group of nobles plotted to rid Russia of Rasputin once and for all. Their plan was as dark as the Siberian night, and it would lead to one of the most infamous assassinations in history.
An assassination? That's intense.
It is, but the story of Rasputin's end is as mysterious as his life. Some say he was poisoned, shot, and drowned before he finally succumbed.
That's quite the overkill.
Indeed, but it speaks volumes about the fear and desperation he inspired. Now, let's prepare to dive into the chilling details of Rasputin's final night. The night of December 30th, 1916 was a fateful one. Rasputin was invited to the Moika Palace, the residence of Prince Felix Yusupov, under the pretense of meeting his wife, who was said to need healing.
A trap, then?
Precisely. The plotters, including Yusupov and the Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, had laid out a deadly plan. They served Rasputin tea and cakes laced with cyanide.
Cyanide? That's a surefire way to kill someone.
One would think so, but Rasputin was no ordinary man. The poison seemed to have no effect on him. Frustrated and desperate, the conspirators resorted to shooting him.
And that did the trick.
Not quite. Rasputin was shot multiple times, yet he continued to live. It wasn't until he was thrown into the icy Neva River that he finally met his end.
Thrown into a river in the middle of winter? That's brutal.
It was, but even in death, Rasputin's legend only grew. Some say he rose from the water, others that he was still breathing when pulled from the river days later.
So, what's the truth?
The truth is as murky as the waters of the Neva. What we do know is that Rasputin's death marked the end of an era. Within a year, the Romanov dynasty fell, and the Russian Revolution changed the course of history.
It's almost like he was a symbol of the old world, and with his passing, everything changed.
Exactly. Rasputin's life and death are a testament to the power of belief, the danger of influence, and the unpredictable nature of history.
A story that's as chilling as it is fascinating.
Indeed. And as we close this chapter on Rasputin, we're reminded that the past is filled with stories that are stranger than fiction, tales that continue to captivate and mystify us to this day.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from around the world.
If you love our artistic creations, pop over to our Patreon to purchase our exclusive image works. Thank you for your support.